A quick video in response to one of the questions in the comments. The question was, have we seen the bottom in gold yesterday, or are we going to see lower prices? First of all, nobody knows for sure which day exactly, which hour exactly is the intermediate cycle low taking place. On which of the days exactly intermediate cycle is going to finish. We can make sort of probabilistic guesses. When do the cycles finish? When are they likely to finish? Based on sort of looking at a number of indicators. If many of those indicators agree, then it's quite likely that the intermediate cycle completes around that time, and we're going to enter a new intermediate cycle with its advancing phase. So let's have a look at a number of indicators. Firstly, RSI. It hasn't been this deeply oversold for about a couple of years, since December 2015. That's one of the reasons I think we have seen the bottom. It's unlikely RSI is going to go even deeper into oversold territory. Secondly, duration of these cycles. They usually last for about half a year. This one has been going on for about 6.5 months. It is very, very likely to have 5 months duration for an intermediate cycle, or 7.5 months duration. So there is a chance that we're just going to bounce up a little bit within this next daily cycle that lasts for about a month and a half, and brings us to a lower level in price. But I don't think it's very likely. And as price moves on upwards, hopefully, and slices through some of the resistance levels, that will just be additional indicators that we are really in an advancing phase of a new intermediate cycle, rather than in a new daily cycle within the same declining phase of the current intermediate cycle. So a couple of resistance zones on the way up for gold price is, of course, this downtrend line of this declining phase. And once we slice through this downtrend line, say somewhere around 1280 or so in a couple of weeks, that will be one of the indicators that, okay, we really are in an advancing phase of a new cycle. Another resistance zone is, of course, this sort of bunch of moving averages. There is a 100-day moving average over here, the 200-day moving average there, sort of just above 1300. All of that sort of gives us this resistance zone around 300 and slightly above that. Once price stays above 1300 for several days, that will be just another indication that we are out of the woods. On the downside, if we look at this weekly chart, we were ought to see some sort of a bounce over here, because we were nearly tangent to the 200-week moving average, and at the same time touched this bull market trend line. Gold has been respecting this trend line for already more than 2 years, 2.5 years. So just around where gold was yesterday, 1237 actually, is quite a strong support zone, both formed by the 200-day moving average and this upward trend line. So we ought to have some bounce over here, and hopefully this bounce grows into an advancing phase of a new intermediate cycle. And the last indicator, which also points to a probability that we've seen the bottom, is this daily GDX chart. It basically bottomed. We see an intraday over here that is lower than the intraday over here. So that is 28th of June when GDX has actually bottomed. And gold, if we look at the daily chart, gold bottomed yesterday, which of course was 3rd of July. That's another indication that smart money is sort of expecting the new intermediate cycle to start with a nice rally in gold, and they are moving into gold miners. For all of these reasons, I think we have seen the bottom, and we're going to see gold price moving upwards for several weeks, a couple of months. Looking back at this weekly chart, well, one thing I want to mention here is, since this is quite a strong support zone, if by chance it does get broken over the next couple of weeks, we might see something scary in gold, as a lot of investors get really disappointed with this asset. Hopefully that doesn't happen. If we don't go below this strong support zone, that's around, well, 1234, 1235, something like that, what we are going to expect from gold is some move within this ascending triangle. Statistically speaking, of course, nobody can see the future, but basically historically it's more common for ascending triangles to be broken on the upside. So I expect gold to sort of move upwards for several weeks, probably at about 1300. There is a 200-day moving average, daily moving average. That might be the top of the daily cycle, which lasts for about a month or so, right? We might pull back for a while, and in the, well, probably in the second daily cycle, we might reach somewhere close to 1350 or so. And the question would be, are we going to break above this? Are we going to break out of this ascending triangle within this intermediate cycle, or is it going to take the next intermediate cycle to bring us higher than 1370, something like that? Well, we'll have to see. In my opinion, it might take another intermediate cycle, but we'll have to see about that. In summary, I would give it 80% chance that we have seen the bottom in gold for the next couple of months, and well, let's say there is like 20%, 25% chance that we're going to break below this strong support zone. If that happens in my personal investments, I've been accumulating GDX since sort of middle of May, somewhere here. Luckily, GDX, as I mentioned in the previous video, didn't move that much since the middle of May. So we're kind of horizontal in GDX, even though gold is going downwards. That's another indication that we might see the bottom in gold very soon. But basically, if this strong support zone gets broken, I might even consider lightening my long positions in expectation to buy some more lower, because if this strong support zone is broken, just as I mentioned, there might be some panicking phase that brings gold considerably lower. Hopefully that doesn't happen. And thanks for your comments. Questions in the comments are always welcome. And thanks for the attention, and have a nice day.